And here we are again. We are live. At least that is what YouTube tells me. And another, of course, I have to mention that again. Beautiful day in Florida, light breeze, and it's gonna be in the 90s again. So to be honest, I just stay inside. This is Toni Weel, and I have with me Sara from Virtuous Unicorns and Aneta, who has an interesting story from Ontario, Canada, way up in the cold. So welcome, Aneta, and thank you for being here again, Sara. It's always a pleasure having you on. My trustworthy co-host.
Love being here. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, it was when you told me about what you were doing yesterday. I saw you working like in the fields with the tree and the manure.
That sounds so glamorous, doesn't it?
It sounds earthy.
Oh, it's earthy, all right.
Yeah, it's good playing in the dirt. And you
Yep.
know what? My sister used to play in the manure, in the cow's manure.
Yep.
It drove my mother crazy, but she was little. She thought it was fun.
We did that as kids too. We lived next to a big boarding facility of horses, and they had a giant manure pile. And we used to climb to the top of it and then jump down into it. And I mean, we would then, you wouldn't go home and shower. You just continue playing the rest of the day. So we were always dirty, but turns out it was okay, huh?
Yeah, well, I back then probably it's like I didn't do it, and to my mother said, you were always such a clean girl, not a spot on your dresses. And my sister, she always looked like she was playing in the dirt. And then when I was a teenager, I couldn't care less. I was the one playing in the dirt. And stepping in water puddles to a point that my daughter said, "Mom, behave."
Oh, that's great. We used to
Yeah.
even lay in the ditches and let the rainwater roll over us, like during summer storms. And I remember we'd play with our Barbies in there. We used to make water beds out of Ziploc bags, and I mean, we were always in it.
Isn't that when you look at it now, that when you see a kid or a teenager, even when you go shopping, in a mall or even the grocery stores, you see these little kids with phones in or whatever device in their hands and just playing some kind of a game or watching something and not being aware of, anything around them. It's kind of sad to see.
It is. And I had my son with me all day yesterday too, and he just sat there on the four-wheeler, and I kept saying, like, do you want your phone or anything like that? No. And he just wanted to be there. And so we just kind of chit-chatted, and he just basically just watched and stuff. And he had a little bee that was hanging around him a lot. And I kept telling him, I was like, oh, he just wanted to know what you're up to. And of course, I didn't want him swatting at it for many reasons. But yeah, so it was a really nice day.
Yeah, that is that's how I love to see it, with kids playing in the dirt and running after each other and just having their little games instead of watching the games that others want to watch you and just, completely dry your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So we had a few before I get into Aneta's story, we had a few questions. Thank you, Katie. It is that I've learned that cooking our food, even at low temperatures for long periods of time, remove the vitamins and minerals in the food. Is this the same with our dried fruit? Because we dry our fruit, 6 or more hours. Nothing happens to your food. Your food stays raw if you keep it under, it's 106 or 108 degrees Fahrenheit. It keeps the minerals and the vitamins. But the most important thing is it keeps the enzymes. So if you talk about cooking the food, if you, I wouldn't call it cooking, because cooking to me, it's like it reaches a boiling point. That's definitely hot and it destroys everything in the food. You don't cook your food at low temperatures. If it's under 106 degrees, it's not being cooked, it's being warmed. Now, dried fruit, and I've been thinking about that. I often mentioned the absolutely delicious dried mango from nuts.com, and I haven't eaten it in a few years now, but before that, it was a daily staple, a daily snack, because it was so delicious and easy to grab. Now I rather grab what is a date or some bananas. But with these mangoes that you buy at the stores, and you see a lot of dried fruit, fruit there, all packaged up. You have to look if there's any sulfur in it, and if it is, it's no good. Don't buy it. But it is, we don't know at what temperature is dried. And I think commercial drying fruit is probably like 130, 150 degrees. And it does ruin, the nutrients in it. But if you keep it under 106, and don't pin me down on the exact temperature, it could be 108. It's still good. And the beauty of dates actually is that the dates, at least that I buy, and I buy them directly from the grower in one is in Arizona, one is in California, they are sun-dried. So whenever it's sun-dried, it's always at the right temperature. It is the way to do it. Now we have our dehydrators, and you can set them, because I think Katie just had a new dehydrator. You can set it at the right temperature. So I wouldn't worry about that. You can keep it under 106 degrees, and you're good. And I have dried stuff, overnight, 12, 14 hours. It depends on how dry you want it. Another question was, well, actually, let me ask, is this something, did that answer your question, Katie? And if you want to come on the podcast, the Zoom link is at the top. I always pin it. So that is for everybody. You want to chime in and talk, then please use that link. The next question is, I've been reading about the different minerals in our body and how important minerals are. If someone goes on a strict one fruit only juice fast for months at a time, does this affect the mineral makeup of that person's body? Does it do more harm, or is it okay? I think that varies for everyone. For the people who have a little bit more weight on it, it's definitely going to be easier to be on juice only, because you could lose a lot of weight. But that was not really a question. It was about the minerals in our body. When we are healthy, the body knows what to do, and it creates whatever is needed, even if it comes from one fruit. I actually learned that from Dr. Morse, who had been like 6 months on oranges only. John Stearns, who was called the Mangotarian, and he went the carnivore way now. But he had been living on a variety of mangoes for a long period of time. I don't know, about 5, 6, or 7 months. 6 sticks in my mind, so that could be it. I would not go on a one fruit juice for months at a time. Dr. Morse is not a fan of just juicing. It is just eat the fruit and you're good. I mean, you detox on fruit too. And even for people with high acidosis, where he would recommend go on 40 days of grapes, he never says go on grape juice only. He just says go on 40 days of grapes. And I do feel that, and I noticed that with myself, that my long periods of time, I'm not a big green eater or veggie eater. And for long periods of time on fruit only, there is a weakness, kind of a weakness in the muscles. So I know I do need more greens and for the minerals and add the minerals to my daily diet. And that would actually be the soft leafy greens like lettuces. And we just had a big, quite interesting, well, what could you say, discussion about a meme that I shared about kale. And kale is very hard on the digestive system. And if you say that you have a big leaf of kale, you know, that curly leaf, it's right rather tough. You cook it. Well, you can cook it for hours and you put it in your mouth and you still cannot get it down. It just, you know, you have to, and that's what we did in the Netherlands. And the Dutch people on here know exactly what I mean with stamppot. It was a winter dish, and for kale, the frost had to go, we call that go over the kale. So after a frosty night, that meant that the kale was more digestible, but it still had to be cut up in really, really small pieces, then cooked for a while, and then mixed up with a potato mash, and then add a lot of tasty choux, which is the sauce on it, the gravy, and then it was edible. Well, would we then say that kale is really a veggie that we would eat? Now, in that meme, it was even said it was called the devil's toilet paper, because your digestive system doesn't like it. And then people say, yeah, well, we need to use it as an what is it? A juice. We need to juice it, and then it's easier to digest. But it is like when you juice it, my gosh, you know, if you drink like 16 ounces of that juice, you know how much kale you need for that? You wouldn't eat that in one sitting. So it is not in balance anymore. How much would you really use? I had people say that it cured cancer. It's ridiculous. It's not true. But all I was saying and kept saying, but all the things that people were you know sharing there, and how good it was, and all the minerals and all the vitamins, and it's like, yeah, there are minerals in it, but how much do you need of that? Do you need that much? Do you need maybe one tablespoon? And that is the same as and we come to that with another question that there was. It is with parsley. You know, parsley can help open up the kidneys. You know, helps with filtering. But how long do you use it? Well, only for a week, maybe 2 weeks, in only like 6 or 8 ounces. You know, you build it up and see what your body can handle, because it is very strong. And the same goes for kale. I don't see it as a food for us. If we have to cook it and we have to cut it up, and of course it needs salt, otherwise it's not, I don't feel it's really edible. And that was with that dish, that Dutch dish, the stamppot that I mentioned. It needs salt, you know, to be edible. And then you come to, is it really food for us? It is actually really, really healing. So it is when the question that Katie had, does it do more harm, or is it okay? And it's like, I don't see that it really does a lot of harm, and it depends on what state the body is in. And at some points you may need just the juice, but I would definitely add fruit for the fibers to it. That was a big thing, by the way, with the kale. It was about the fibers. But those fibers, it's the same like with cellulose. You know, you see now, I've seen actually drinks And I looked at it and I thought it looked good until, ingredients, until I saw cellulose. And I'm like, what? There is actually cellulose added to it that people are not thinking. So anyway, I hope that question was answered. For the minerals, use lettuces, and when we talk about the greens, it is the butter lettuce, it is the romaine, it is iceberg lettuce. And my husband, who is on the road 5-6 days a week, and he takes salads with him, we used to do it had it's called like the spring mix that you can buy at the stores. It had spinach, it has a young kale and a few other things in it. He didn't like it. And now we have him all a variety of these lettuces, and he loves it, and he feels so much better on it. So, it's always trying it out for yourself, see how your body does, but listen to your body. For many people, kale gives cramps and diarrhea and uncomfortable feeling, and others say, I do great on it. So just know it is not easy to digest. It takes a lot of energy that your body could otherwise use to heal. And then we come back to the always, body is always healing. That's what it wants to do. It wants to be in the best state it can be in. So when we put in stuff that is hard to digest, it cannot do what it needs to do. So we come to the next question, anorexia versus vegetarian. How do you know that someone who is anorexic not working towards becoming a vegetarian? Well, I think those are two completely different things, because anorexic, it is a mental state. It is like not seeing I think most people know what anorexic means. Is it a state of the physical, your body, or is it a state of the mind? My granddaughter struggled with it. Was not anorexic. They had another word for it. But she got very picky with what she was eating. But she lost so much weight that it was getting quite dangerous. And but it was like, no, I can't eat any of that. I only need to eat what doesn't make her gain weight. For a vegetarian, I learned about, I think is known as Chris Manley. He is a well-known vegetarian. He is on Facebook. And he talked with another guy, and I forgot his name, who is also a vegetarian, and they had some discussions. And what I learned from that is you can only get to the vegetarian part of life, living, is when you completely, and I mean completely, detox your body. So really, really get clean. And I noticed for myself, and in no way I can even think about or say that I got to that point, but what I did learn with being on all fruit, and I have done it for a prolonged time, I started to need less and less and less foods, to a point that a whole day could go by and I realized I hadn't had anything and I wasn't hungry at all. Only I haven't eaten anything, I should eat something. Well, I was not even hungry or thirsty. And I think when you get to the point that you are really, really get clean, and believe me, I'm nowhere there. But that's when you get to the point of a vegetarian. But that does not mean that you look anorexic or, super, super skinny, because when that happens, that your body is absolutely not absorbing whatever nutrients. And as a vegetarian, the nutrients may not come from the food, but say it comes from the air, because it is all around us. And even when we would say, the air is so toxic nowadays, how can it be? That is a question that when I finally get one of the two vegetarians on the podcast, we have to ask them. I don't know. But if somebody looks anorexic, then you really have to look into their body is not detoxed. And your GI tract may still be full of junk, it may not have come out and you are not absorbing. I know that is an issue for me, absorbing the nutrients. That's been my whole life. So there is a lot that we need to learn about that in cleaning the body. It's a process. Even the two vegetarians that I am aware of, that was not done in a year. That was years of detoxing and learning about it. So I hope that that answered that question, Katie. We got to the parsley. Can you do it with other fruit and vegetables, or had it to be by itself? Well, the short answer is it has to be by itself in the morning, and not adding anything to it. I do have to say, though, that I can wait maybe a few minutes and then it's like, oh my gosh, I need to have a sip of water because it is so strong. But that is a mind thing, get to the point of mind over matter. You can do it and just know that it's good for you, but don't do it too long. You will mess up your GI tract. It's not meant to be. And the same goes for celery. I mean, it's been a while, but I was also in a Facebook group where I mentioned that celery is toxic. I have a book that talks about it. It's been mentioned before on other of our podcasts, where we talked about this and about its toxicity. And there is a person, and you will have to find the title of the book again. But it has research that goes back to even 100 years. I mean, imagine that, when people were talking about that. Talking about, there is real research about what it does to the body. And when somebody then comes out and it's like it heals everything, it's not the case. It does not. For me, I did it for 18 months. I was crazy enough to follow it and do it for 18 months and completely messed up my GI tract. I mean, my God, it went from severe explosive diarrhea. It's even embarrassing to even think about it. So that was that was not good. So those were the questions that I have. Sarah, I have not watched the questions in the chat. I see Monique, an anorexic person, is obsessed with not eating food because of the figure. Yeah. A vegetarian has let go of food exactly after detoxing, after seeing how far can you take it. And I'm absolutely intrigued. I'm really intrigued with it, because I have seen how long I can go without food. Even when I was on a 23-day water fast, it was the easiest thing for me to do. And I could have done it longer. I was not hungry. I was not weak. So it was amazing. Mm-hmm. So it was absolutely, it was easy.
Yep. And yesterday too, like I was thinking when we were outside, because we did have some little bits of sun, but it was cloudy. But I was remembering, I can't remember the person who wrote that. Was it Nora that wrote about when we're out in the sun and the sun's kind of feeding us?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I think it might have been Nora, but we'll correct us if we're wrong down the road. But when I was out there, I was thinking about that, and I didn't eat all day yesterday. I didn't even have juice yesterday. I was trying to beat the storm, so I was really working, and I did. And then when I came in, we just had some nice juice, and it was perfect. That's all we needed.
But isn't it beautiful how when you are out in nature and you need to do certain things, how your body really adjusts to that? Mm-hmm. Not it's like, oh my God, at lunchtime, I have to go eat. I have to go in and eat something. We got so hung up on these breakfast, lunch, and dinner ideas, and it doesn't even make sense to me.
Yep. And it looks like Monique just answered Katie's other question about treating celery as an herb.
Yeah, people say it's not a vegetable, it is an herb. And with an herb, I know of people who said, oh, I do my daily 32 ounces of kale, of celery. And I think, my God, that is at least 2-3 bushes of celery. You would never eat that in one setting. And to answer the question, is eating celery toxic or just choosing it? I think it is, the celery was mentioned as being toxic in that book. Dr. Morse has it in his book, and you use it, if you have not a bunch, but one stalk, and you like cut it up in a salad for a little crunchiness, I don't think it will hurt you, and you probably won't do it every day. But it is the the juicing up 1-2 bunches to get the juice. That is a lot. So, sulfur in dried food. I have sulfur buildup in my body. Where did this come from, and what is the best way to get rid of this buildup? Well, I think, Katie, you know the answer to get how to get rid of it. It is the same answer as for everything. How can your body heal from arthritis, from eczema, from whatever symptoms? It's the same with the sulfur. Go on your really natural diet. Go on the well, what is it? On the fruit.
Berries and melons.
Yeah, fruit, berries, and melons. There we go. I was going to say something else. It was about our species-specific foods.
Mm-hmm.
But the sulfur will come out, and you will see that in your bowel movements a lot.
Katie, I was gonna say, Katie's making amazing strides, and I mean, both spiritual within yourself and with the way you eat. So I mean, you're on an excellent path, and I think you're a year and a couple months into it now too. So just try to be patient, keep trucking along, and you're being very gentle with your body, and that's what we need to really be doing.
Yeah, I was going to go into also, yes, he's doing amazing. And how do you get it? Sulfur can come because it's added to certain foods, but it mostly comes from pharmaceuticals. That is, and even I had a big brown spot in my iris, and I had it after, I think I was 19 when I had gallbladder removal. And I've been on a lot throughout from 6 months old till in my teens on a yearly, for ear infections. On all kinds of pharmaceuticals and antibiotics. And that has a lot of sulfur too. And throughout my life, you could still see that brown spot. I think it's disappearing now, but it takes time. It's like we like to see our eyes changing in like 3 months, but it's not necessarily the case. And Katie, you said somebody told you to do a 40-day water fast. I don't know why would anybody suggest that. And there is actually, and I have it on my channel, about water versus fruit juices. What would be best? Dr. Morse would say do the fruit because it has more nutrients in it. I found a water fast easier than a fruit because I don't have to think, oh, am I going to take mango or pineapple or apple and then I don't know. I still would take things that I may not need at that point. So with water, I didn't have to give it a second take. Water it is. Should people do a water fast? Not if they come from a standard diet. I've done it when I was in my 20s because I didn't know any better. I've done it again like 11 or 12 years ago. I've done it, and I did it last year, but I was more prepared last year than the other times. I would say if you want to do a water fast and you are already on fruit, sure, take a weekend, do 1, 2, or 3 days and do just water and see how it goes. But if you have a disease that is, when they tell you only have so many months to live, maybe I would then go into a water fast, but then even Dr. Morse still says grapes, go into the grapes. And I think, it's pulling, and on the other hand, it's detoxing, and it still gives you nutrients. And it gives you the fiber that you need. But if you really have to, like with a cold or the flu, you have a bad flu, who wants to eat? You don't want to eat. Those are the moments that you really do a water fast. I had food poisoning. I didn't want to eat anything. This is a few years back. So, well, actually, I did a dry fast then because I didn't want to put anything in my stomach. So it was only 24-hour dry fast, so it was not that long. I think that was hard to do. And from there, I went into a water fast and then into fruit juices and then back to fruit. So, okay. What else do we have here?
We do have Annetta on the line too, but there is one more question in the chat, and that is about swimmer's ear and your ears just being real sensitive.
Okay. It is a stagnated lymph. That's what I learned from Dr. Morse. So, you do the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's the same as always. It's not that there are, something different to do. It's the same thing. So yes, Annetta we had already a pretty long chat before we started the podcast about things that she experienced, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And it was about the twin flame, and I never, heard of it. And she mentioned the twin flame thing triggers a spiritual journey, and that led her to Dr. Morse. And so I was kind of intrigued. So this morning she explained to me what that was. So I'll let her explain it again. So Annetta, if you unmute yourself, and let's go into this, because it does explain probably for a lot of people, what is going on these days and why are so many people actually going through certain things in their life. I had not ever heard about the concept. So there are probably people on the chat who know more about it, but it was completely new to me what it meant. So let's talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, it's happening more and more. They say there's a general kind of awakening on the planet. So it could be anything from accidents to health issues to anything, any crisis or not. So I'll start at the beginning. So personally, I was like my parents, my father's a physicist and my mother was in finance. So I had no background that was religious or particularly spiritual, even though I'm an artist, so obviously there was some spiritual inclination there, but not conscious. So about 4 years ago, I just started dating this man down the street who lived near me, and then it was about 6 weeks, and then he just slowly pulled away, and I thought it was strange because we had a good compatibility and everything. And I just fell apart. Like I had this crisis. I just didn't want to live anymore. I couldn't figure out why I was alive and what I was going to do. And everything seemed pointless. And there was like this physical pain in my heart. It was like my heart was just breaking open. It was the weirdest feeling. And I was obsessed. Like my brain just was thinking about this person like 24/7. All day, all night, like could not stop, could not turn it off. I would be crying. I couldn't feed my daughter for like 2 years. I was like, could hardly feed her, couldn't do anything. So at the same time, I was also having a lot of migraines, and I was also getting sick. I got sick quite a few times during COVID, but it wasn't COVID, but just sick. And I developed this eye injury. I've always had herpes, like since I was 20, I had herpes. So I got this eye infection, and I realized this is probably a virus, because this is acting like a virus. So, and it would heal and then it come back. And I basically spent 2 years of my eyes closed and I couldn't do anything. So this was after the depression thing. So this is on top of the depression thing. So I started going online and looking up information on, first it was narcissism, and I just couldn't figure out why this obsession with this person that I hardly even knew. It was very strange. So eventually I found this course by this man called Kurt Johnson, and it's a twin flame course. And I learned about the twin flame. The twin flame is basically you meet your own soul. So this is another body reincarnated in the same space and time as you with your soul. You share a soul. So, and this sounds like a bizarre thing. And of course, yeah, like, really? That's weird. Then I thought, well, even if it's not true, at least the cure is probably very useful. So basically you have to meditate like all day, every day, and just get out of your minds, get out of your mind, out of your thinking mind, and get very zen and present in the moment all day, every day. And that's the only way the pain stops. So as I did this, I started to let go of my bad eating habits, and I started to just start to feel better and when you get control of your mind, you get control of everything in your life. So I also got this glimpse into this world that is like, maybe there's things going on in this world that we don't understand, that we don't know, or like maybe there's something else going on. And it's the first time I realized, oh my God, there's more to this. There's something, this is freaky. So I started opening up and going down the rabbit holes of spiritual stuff on YouTube and realizing maybe there's something true to this. So I just started believing, and it was so nice to just believe that there's more. And I'd, do little laws of attraction experiments with birds and stuff. And I prayed for a miracle, and I asked my spirit guides, just please, fix my eye. I need a miracle, because there's no cure for a virus, right? So I looked up, left eye injury, and found the god of Horus, the Egyptian god Horus, who had an injury in his left eye, and he prayed to the falcon god. So I prayed to the falcon god, and strangely enough, a big bald-headed eagle flew over my head. And that's, in Canada, we don't really have that many of those, and I've never seen one in my life. I thought, this is freaky. So, and then I just went on YouTube, and any video that would come up, I'd just watch it. And if it caught my eye, I'd just watch it. And so the first one came up was the keto diet. And I listened to it and I thought, well, okay, so diet can heal some of these things. So that's the first time I got into the idea of eating to heal something. So I was doing this for a while, and that was a nice, like I got rid of the sugars and the carbs. But then my sister got really sick. Like she was carted away on a stretcher to the hospital like several times, and she thought she was dying. And I thought, oh my God, this came just in time. So I was actually ready to give her the confidence to believe that this is just her spiritual awakening and it was going to be okay. And she had to just let go and believe it was going to be okay. And I was like, because we didn't know what it was. Anyway, so the next 2 years, I researched health matters like all day, every day on YouTube. And eventually we found a clinic, and she got diagnosed with Lyme disease. And I was watching a video on this woman who, this man, OK Raw, does the square foot gardening. I used to like watching his videos. Anyway, he was interviewing a woman called Rochelle at a fruit festival. And she mentioned Dr. Morse, and she said she had detoxed herpes in 3 months. So I went looking for Dr. Morse, and there it came up. And of course, it was great and totally resonated with me. And so I was able to get my sister into that, and she's doing great now. I did it, and I have to say it was no accident that I found this, because the fruit diet so parallels the spiritual journey. It's like we were meant to find this diet so that our bodies were light enough to handle all the, the light that's coming in on the planet, and to just, it's all linked. And the more videos I watch on this stuff, the more it all just comes together. And it's not like crazy theories that are totally different from each other. It's like there's a whole pattern that's emerging. Like, it's just we're meant to go to the lighter foods. I'm quite convinced. And that there's certain people that are drawn to this diet because I think they're ready to be drawn to the diet, and that there's this, it's part of this general awakening, and this sort of, I'm pretty sure there is this idea of the new earth, which is supposed to be March 22nd, I think. I think there's a lot in that. And I think, no, I mean, I could ramble on and on, but that's basically it. And anyway, so I went on the fruit diet, and the first thing that happens, back to the practical issues of the fruit diet, is I went on grapes and my face exploded, which really sucks when you like the guy down the road. But then I had another nice exercise in trying to accept myself in spite of my horrible face. So that was another spiritual journey, just learning to love who I really am, like my soul, at a soul level, regardless of what my face looked like. So yeah, it's been really interesting, and definitely think that more and more people are meant to find this diet. But it also makes me realize why, when you try and explain this diet to some people, they can't even listen to you. They can't hear it. They can't resonate with it, because they're just either somehow not meant to, or it's not their time, or they're not far enough along to be able to accept it. And I sometimes think, if I hadn't met the twin flame and I hadn't meditated, would I be able to do this diet? And I don't think I would have, because I wouldn't have had the courage to let go of the food addictions and the fear of not eating all that food. So I don't know. I think it's all linked somehow. But anyway, so that's sort of my story, I guess.
That's very, very interesting. And I agree with you. That was another stepping stone to help you get onto this journey and to this path to reflect within. And you did go within, and you trusted the process. And then more doors opened up for you to keep you moving down the path. And it's just amazing how, when you're ready, everything is just laid out for you, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're very happy you found that path.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other interesting fact is how many people actually completely reject it, don't want to hear about it, don't want to know anything about it, like, no, it's not for me. And I mentioned a few times, actually, since my sister died, and how it definitely affects me in a way that there is this sadness, like, how can this even happen, that people do not want to listen to it? That's not, it's so easy for even for me to say they're all on their own journey, but what is the difference between you guys and myself, and then the other people we want to share it with? And while they are dying and they are in a horrendous state, they still do not want to hear about it.
They're
Yeah.
just not ready.
Yeah.
It's not their time. Maybe they have to come back and do another, wash back up onto the shores and come back and do another lifetime here. We're not really sure. One day we'll know. I was also going to ask some questions too, because I've actually been working with somebody that has ADHD and kind of hearing their stories and some of their stuff where they do have the headaches, they are the hyper focused. They actually did have a relationship with somebody where they were they weren't actually together, but it was like they were getting dopamine hits off of each other. And so she was always seeking for more dopamine type stuff, and she was getting it from that person. And it was becoming like they were just hyper aware of the relationship and each other, even though they still weren't together. There was other different things in her life too, is like the food. She gets all the dopamine from the food, from intense work, just being very urgent. And I think she works in the medical field too. So she's very addicted to that stuff, but it's always like she is seeking for the dopamine hits and where it kind of makes you feel good. And so she's kind of on the route of, trying to start on the fruits, but she can't get her mind wrapped around to begin to start the fruit process. She's thinking she needs to be medicated and stuff like that too. So here we are. You were lucky to have found that, maybe not lucky, it's probably the wrong word, but you were fortunate enough to find that path where you could listen to that and that resonated with you. Whereas she needs to find something too that will help resonate her to bring her the understanding of this path. And then maybe stuff will start opening for her too. So I'm kind of working with her to kind of start showing her this stuff because she's definitely interested, but that path, she hasn't seen the light of this path yet, I guess I could say.
Yeah, and you won't see it until you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Will she meditate?
Maybe, but with the ADHD, she's saying she's having trouble doing that.
Yeah.
So
It's hard at the beginning.
Yeah, it's hard to rein that mind in.
Yeah. It took me a year just to get a little bit of quiet.
Right. And of course and I never want to say excuses, but there's always, well, I'm busy doing this. I got this going on. I got this going on. I got this going on. And until you step back, and even though you are very busy, but you step back and you say, I need this 10 minutes for me. Because if not, then this is going to continue to be a runaway train that I'm never going to be able to get on track. So if you don't actually stop to read the map for every once in a while, you're never going to know where you're going. But
I had yesterday a young woman here, and also HDAD. Mind goes in all kinds of different directions. And the first thing that came to my mind is what she needs Tai Chi to be able to go within. It came out of nowhere. So, and my daughter did practice when she was a child, Tai Chi. I never did, always wanted to, but never did. But that was the first thing that came up. And for a lot of people, when we tell them, and I was told I had to do meditation when I was in my teens even, so it goes way back. And I was always like, how am I doing that? I cannot still my mind. It's always a mile a minute. But doing things that I absolutely enjoy, even if it was watering my plants, and I realized my mind became still. There was no thought at these moments, and I realized those were the meditation moments. So it is often, and I see that if you are going in all kinds of different directions, like people with ADHD, you never stand still to really enjoy anything, and being aware that at those moments when you enjoy what you're doing, your mind can be still.
mm-hmm.
So
when you're in the present, there is stillness and silence when you're present in that moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
even
I'm
listening
the
to
same way.
music and just really listening to it can be a good mental training for the mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine's always just, I'm quiet, I'm cleaning the barn, I'm over there, I can spend hours there. And because I'm in the moment, I'm there and I'm present, and the smells and the sounds of the birds and even the sound of the horse just eating or whatever he's doing, those are all very powerful moments to bring you into the present.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did stumble across, I think Dr. Morse did something where he was saying that restless leg syndrome can also be a part of the ADHD. And there were some other things in there too. So I've been trying to dive into that and see
What was that?
the ADHD, some of the other symptoms of ADHD can be restless leg syndrome too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you mean. Well, when I go way back and I think about, now ADHD, it seems, young kids, teenagers, adults, older adults even, and we talk about ADHD, where the heck is it all coming from? It's like, it's half of the people seem to be having it, while that was not the case. So I do feel it has to do with our foods, and of course all the other things that have been put forcibly often into our bodies. I cannot even mention the names here on YouTube. That has affected us. So I really feel that when we can detox, that will change. And I've known what people that I talk with, how much more relaxed they have become. And it's like the ADHD, what is it, label, it's not even part of their life anymore.
Yep. And I 100% believe that it is our food and it is our environment too. And it has to do with our pineal gland because, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's something along the lines of the pineal gland produces the melatonin, and it's the melatonin and serotonin. So we're not getting the serotonin, which is the dopamine response, something to do with all that too. And so until we decalcify, whatever the word is, our pineal gland, we're still going to be having those issues, but it's been calcified and shrunk. Oh, it's so funny. As I'm talking about it, it's like I feel something tingling between my eyes on my forehead. It's like I'm here. But yeah, we have to decalcify that. We have to focus on that and grow our pineal glands back that way so we can have our proper melatonin, serotonin, dopamine, all that working together properly.
Well, and then we get back to detoxing, and we get back to the fruits.
We're a broken record. Detox and fruits, berries, and melons. It's the one true story. It's the same as when we're all taking our decodes of the Bible. It's the one true story. It's a broken record. It does not change. You come to us, we're going to tell you the same things. Get your kidneys filtering. Do your fruits, berries, and melons. Oh, I have ADHD. I can't focus to do it all. Well, we all have ADHD in one way, shape, or form or another, and we're all very busy, but you have to just prioritize. As they say on the airplane, put the mask on yourself first, and then you can help others. So you're gonna have to be selfish and help yourself. That way you can become a brighter and better person, and you can beam your light to help everyone around you too. And as you do this, it becomes so easy. Like you will have this energy to help others. You will feel better. Your energy will just start touching people. You will heal people and help people that you don't even know that you are healing and helping. I had a conversation with somebody it's in my family, but it's like a relative of relative, whatever. But she told me that, I've always looked up to you and all this stuff. And she's like 10, 15 years younger than me. And I never even knew she even, thought of me in that way. Like we see each other, we're friendly, but she told me all this stuff just this past weekend. And I'm like, we don't even really talk. But I guess just the way I do things, or I am with my family, or how I am with things, or I don't fall to, I don't even know the word of it, when everyone else is doing something, that kind of stuff, I just continue my own path. And that's the same as what we are. It's the one true story, and we're not going to derail from it because we're too far down that narrow path that we can't turn around to go back even if we wanted to. we can only continue to move forward.
Yeah, we know there's no way back. There's with what we learned about well, everything. It's like there's no way back to what it was. And we're moving forward, even if it is baby steps. And often that is just what it has to be, baby steps.
Yeah.
And knowing that we are doing the right thing.
It is. And it is hard. I do remember, but I know I've said this in the last couple podcasts. It's like having a child. You do forget that pain. And so I do forget how bad of a struggle it was. But when I really sit down and I try to remember, it was hard. It was very hard. I never jumped right into detox either. Like when my stomach got sour, I would turn to crackers. And then from there, I just kept putting the good stuff in. And then eventually my body did get better and it did not want any of the bad stuff anymore. But I have that struggle with my son. My son eats nothing but French fries right now. And it drives me insane knowing everything I know. But that's all that I have to do with him at this time. I mean, it is a very big struggle. He will drink the orange juice now, but I see him go through it, and I can't even imagine what the detox is going to be like once, we finally can cross another hurdle for us. But it is baby steps, and it's very hard.
Yeah, Annetta knows something about that too with a teenage daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially when they're bigger than you.
Yeah. White flour is all my daughter will eat.
Yes. Yep. Oh, yeah.
I tried to squeeze some fresh orange juice and sneak it into her store-bought orange juice. And she discovered, oh my God, there's bits in it. Mom, did you put your orange juice in mine?
I do. What I do, I use a fine sieve strainer. And so I will strain it out because he will vomit if he finds anything in it. And so, yeah, we have to be very careful with that.
Yeah.
I feel your pain.
My daughter has ADD too, so.
Okay. Yep. So probably some texture issues as well.
Oh, yeah. The focus. Yeah.
I know. I would do anything if they would eat grapes. I'd be like, at school, they'd be like, all he eats is grapes. I'm like, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, the problem sometimes at schools can be, I have a client with a 6-year-old who had diabetes 1, and doctors wanted to put her on insulin. And it's the dad I always talk with, and he was like, there had to be a better way. So he got her on all fruit, and her numbers came down tremendously, and she's doing amazing, 6 years old. So now her sugars have completely balanced as long as she stays on fruit. And then all of a sudden, her numbers were way up, and he found out that at school she had exchanged her lunch for, I think it was for chips and soda. So it was like, this happens, this, you give them. Now it's with your son, Sarah, if he wants to eat what he wants to eat. When you have a 6-year-old and there is something that seems to be much better than what you have, and this little girl actually likes her fruit, but what the other kid had was way more interesting, not realizing what it would do to her body.
The salty and fat combination. Oof.
Yeah, it is a terrible combination. And but he is doing a lot of great things, with games and making, the foods together, the fruits and little video things about what she needs to eat and she is actually a twin, two twin sisters, and one girl doesn't have diabetes and the other one does. But she is doing amazing, and it just proved that yes, you can heal even from diabetes 1. So
I don't know as much about diabetes 1 as I do as 2, but yeah, I mean, the key to it is the fat, and you just, I don't know, it gets better. Just keep it up. And look what Dr. Morse did with the guy who was regrowing his toe, and he was also a diabetic. I haven't seen a video on it in a while, but is he even diabetic anymore?
I don't know. I think sometimes he talks about it, and I think when you are only a diabetic when you are on the wrong foods. And I mean, when I would eat like a week or 2 weeks, and I have avocados or other coconut, the so-called healthy fats in my diet, my numbers go up, and I don't feel well. And so there is no way that you can really heal when that happens. And I think for this guy to heal his toe, he would have been on a very strict diet, and then be aware that your diabetes only goes away when you stick to the all fruit, and you do not have any. I mean, yes, you can add your greens, but absolutely don't have fats in your diet, because that is what messes me up every time. It's not only the pain that you can have, like what I have with the arthritis. As soon as there are fats in my diet, the pains are back, and that goes the sugar numbers are going up, and they're going up really bad. So that can tell you, like, your body hasn't healed fully, but that just takes time. And I see too many times, and we spoke of this often, you do not heal a body that got sick over 40, 50 years, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. Well, usually not longer. I mean, it takes, 10, 20, 30 years. And we expected it's healed in 3 months. And it's like, oh my God, I have to do this for a whole year. But you grow into it. And once you really learn what food is doing in your body and how your body works, it becomes easier. When we just know, like, oh, you need to eat all fruit and you will heal, and still don't know how to listen to your body. We talk about this often, the how your body reacts to things. I mean, I know it all too well. You mentioned it, Sara. When you eat, your body doesn't even want to eat certain things because of how you feel. And I think it was Lucas who had his book about fasting, and he has another health book out that we mentioned a few weeks ago. He is like, you satisfy your taste buds, but not your body. And it seems sometimes like it's two different entities, like they don't work together.
It is. And we're so busy in our minds day to day too, that we are looking for little dopamine hits, and you will get that from that salty, fatty, or even the ice cream. But you can now turn to nice cream with your bananas and stuff. So we do look for all that, especially those that are still trapped in the matrix and having to go out there every day. It is hard to, repel all that negativity out there every day and come home, and you still have to take care of children and do all the other things and prepare for school and sports. So we all are looking for dopamine, whether it's TikTok, food, or movies, or just vegging out in front of the TV. That's what we look for. So it's going to be wonderful when we can finally move to a society when we're not stuck in the matrix and we're not having to be slaves to go to work every day and to provide, stuff. I did see something. It's like, I get up every day, I fight traffic, I go to work to pay for all the items and the stuff in my house, for the car, to the everything that I don't even get to spend time in the first place. So it's almost like it's just craziness that we get up and go do this. But there's some of us that have very meaning jobs, though. Like Dave has a very important, very meaningful job. I don't know what everybody else really does. I know Katie teaches a lot of people and a lot of children and does tutoring. And those are all very, very important jobs. And those really do have meaning. But at the same time, I know they also take a toll on you as well, too. So I hope you all are finding good ways to unwind and to ground yourself again and to keep your light shining bright, because we definitely need people in those fields.
Absolutely. And that will always be the case, but it would be so beautiful. If we, you live the life, part of it, at least in nature. I know you still have a job and you work in an environment you may want to, not be in. As for many of us, it's like being in a matrix. I see that with my husband, day in, day out. But still finding a way to enjoy it. And I think whatever you do in life, you have to enjoy it. And I hope we can. I do want to spend a few minutes on the website. I have been struggling the last 2 weeks with getting it completely secured. And I have a program on my website that shows how many attacks from all over the world can be directed to a website. And I am talking about 10 to 20 million per hour. Isn't that amazing that people actually spend their time to build programs to do this to others? I really hope that the world can change where we only want to do good to each other. It's absolutely crazy. I think I got to a point now where I do feel that the site is secure. It has the software, definitely the software on it that helps us. I do hope to see everyone there where we can build on a different, on a platform where we can share. And I've added a lot of groups for, even for what we teach our children about nature, about self-sufficient living. I hope to see a little bit more input from others there too. And build it up. Be aware that you can actually invite people there if you are on that website, gardenofeden.social. And yes, we do have to register, otherwise it becomes a total circus if I would let just anybody and everybody in, and it would not be fun for the ones who really want to build something beautiful. But if you go on your profile, you will see an invite option, and invite your friends. You can put in your own message about what you feel the site is about, and or use the intro that Katie and Lisa helped creating for us, the text. I will do soon on a video intro and to show it to people. Right now, I'm working on courses and how to do that so that other people, and that may be even with Katie and her teaching capability, and even you, Sara, could actually add courses. It doesn't matter what courses it is. It can be about Bible decoding, if something that people would love to learn more about. You can do that in a group, but you can have your own course. And so I'm working on setting that up. But since all these things are also new to me, I have to learn how to do all this stuff. And there is a lot of, although a lot of the things are be done for you, but it has to work too. So I'm learning how all this software works. And it is a process, and but it is fun to do, and it may take some time. I've been talking with Noah about this. He has been on the podcast too. And she also has courses, but we kind of like to have it work like Udemy. Udemy, it's like udemy.com, and that is a course website, and everybody can put their courses there and make some money with it. So that is what we want to accomplish with the types of things that we want to teach people. And it can, what I already said, it can be, about Bible decoding or studies or detoxing, food, fruits, where to find it, can be anything. But it has to be, in line with the whole idea about this platform. So I would love to see more people there. Again, gardenofeden.social. I think the name already, explains it all, what we're trying to build here. And another thing I actually never ask here is with this podcast, please do click on like and share. You can share. But do click on liking it. That will help others to find our podcast too. I don't like to call it a show because it's not a show. We are not here for show. We are all real. And yeah, that's about it. And I see it is 1:11 here where I am at, and that's usually when we end the show. And I want to thank everybody for being here, for joining us. Annette, that was wonderful to have you share your experiences, and we hope to have you on more often. And everyone else, Katie, Sara, I mean, how could we ever do this without you guys? And it is, what Sara always said, it is with love, for you guys being here. So thank you so much. And for me, it's like, till the next time. Oh yeah, we don't, Sara, you were next week that you couldn't be on, right?
That's correct. I will not be here next week. So
she have something really important with her son.
Yep.
So we, of course, we hope, Katie, for, you can be my co-host. And whoever wants to be here. I always love the interactions that we have, and not having me to talk all the time. And I wouldn't even be able to do that.
Well, I just want to say, Annette, thank you so much. Enjoyed hearing your story, and would love for you to check back in with us to hear how you continue on your journey, or connect with us on Facebook, or however you are, or definitely come over to gardenofeden.social. Would love to interact with you more, and love to everyone in the chat. Just love being with you all so much, and what a wonderful show, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. So till the next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.